Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to part 3 of Day 9 Daily number 345, where we said, I guess in 341 it was, pick one thing of your gameplay and focus only on that one thing. And then, once you've mastered it, then you can begin asking other questions. We looked at how that feels in games, or in parts 1 and 2, about how the games went. And now in part 3, we're also going to look, actually let me explain a little more. In parts 1 and 2, we looked at how it felt, the sort of problems that would rise up, how ugly other aspects got, and we said that that's okay, and to fix those a little bit at a time. And what we're going to do in this third part, between, whoopsie daisies, that's not the right screen, between Draker and Take You from the, I assume Hind is the rest of that? I don't know. So, let's see here. Yeah, we're going to actually begin asking a whole bunch of strategy-related questions. Whole bunch of strategy-related questions. Could he be doing this? Could he be working on X, Y, and Z? In particular, we are going to ask a lot of questions in the following form. Now that I have fixed problem blah, it allows me to do X. How do I exploit X? So in this case, I just fixed the problem of queen larva injects. Now I have more larva. How do I make use of this? And of course, if you're never getting supply blocked, you can be like, well, I have more money because I'm getting more workers. Or if you never forget SCV production, you can be like, I have more money, so how do I solve problems with that? Or let's say you figured out a strategic problem, like how to defend an early attack. Now you can begin asking yourself questions like, now that I can defend 3 bases, how do I make use of 6 geysers early on? So we see Draker doing a pretty good job of macroing early on. I honestly think that these guys are left in gas a little bit too long because we aren't actually using them as much. And now we see a roach warren getting placed down really, really early on. Now, let's do this thing that I just said. Ask ourselves a question and try to answer it using the tool that we have just fixed. The tool that we have just now gained is really spot on larva injects. Okay. Do I need this roach warren that early? Do I really need that so badly? Well, could I possibly solve it with my extra larva? Could I possibly solve it by just looking at the minimap and when I see an attack, turning all my larva into extra zerglings? Interestingly, I think that this, you can actually best say, yeah, don't get a roach warren. Because if you have a lot of larvae, you're going to have a lot of drones, and then you can spend those on spine crawlers for defense. You can get maybe a 1 spine crawler defense up. Yeah, I don't actually feel like we need this so much that we might be able to solve this by having really spot-on injects. And by just having our other units available. In particular, I'm just noticing that we don't really have that much money. Anytime I'm low on money, I think, what the hell can I get rid of? Can I get rid of gas? Can I get rid of roach warren? Am I missing any larva injects at any point? Well, no, so that's obviously a good problem. But yeah, that's kind of why I zoned in on that roach warren early on. Because I saw that we weren't actually having that much money. I mean, damn, we have a lot of these larvae out. I mean, one problem that we might say is, man, we're getting too much larva. Did I get like a 3rd hatchery too early? Did I get a 2nd queen too early? No, you know what? Draker's just been on 1 queen. He's just getting this roach warren too early and keeping these guys in his gas for too long. I mean, look at how much gas we have. It's friggin' insanity. It's totally ridiculously unfair. So now we see 3 roaches cropping up again. 2 overlords trying to go down. And, you know, per usual, we see some couple of these other problems, but anytime I see something get built, I always kind of want to say, can I actually afford this right now? Can I actually? Is this real? Is this a real thing? And it's looking more and more like Draker actually can support it right now. So I want to ask something. Anytime you see something was able to go down smoothly, like let's say you built a spire and when it finished you could build 10 mutalisks, or you started an Evo chamber and you had more than enough money to begin the upgrade and to get all your drones on time. Anytime you are doing a positive action, such as getting an upgrade, just ask yourself briefly, could I get this faster? Could I get this faster? One of the most important questions ever. Can I get this faster? Okay, good. We just want to make sure that we get that asked question out of the way right now. Because we might be able to get this faster. This layer, can we get this up faster? I'm only asking that because everything else seems to be in order. We're not really getting supply blocked. Our macro's kind of slipping a little bit. But it still looks like we can kind of afford it. And then we see, amazingly, Draker has more money than he knows what to do with, so he just throws down an expand. And this is one of these incidental choices. Oh, shit, incidentally, I have enough money to build the hatch, so I will. As an in-game decision, I don't mind that. If you're in the moment and you go, oh, I guess I can afford a hatch. I guess I'm building a hatch. That's fine. But after the game, I want you to ask yourself, is the timing of this hatch okay? Can I defend this? Is it better to build this hatch right here? Obviously, you want to work a little bit more on your refinement in every single game on landing those perfectly, but this hatch could be planted in the main if you can't defend it. Or maybe you actually want to take out these destructible rocks early. Maybe you should get these zerglings to kill off these destructible rocks. Wait a minute, did you hear what I just did? Question. Is this the good location for the expansion? Answer. Maybe not. Maybe I can use the larva given by my queen to get me this extra expansion up. I can use the larva from these queens to get zerglings to knock down these destructible rocks, so that way I can take these down. So let me give some more examples of this. What's the problem I was working on? And now that I've solved it, how do I use it to solve other problems? Here's one. Drops keep killing me. They keep on killing me. That's my problem. What am I going to work on? I'm working on my mini-map. I'm going to be looking at my mini-map more. Okay, cool. So then, once I'm suddenly here, and I'm never missing a damn thing on the mini-map, and I'm a hero at it, I can begin to say things like, well, maybe I need more money. Maybe I can build less defense and rely more on this mini-map skill that I have. Maybe I can actually have two forces moving out at once, and I can scout more aggressively because I'm so good at watching my minimap. The tool that you've developed for yourself is good minimap watching, so now we use it in other spots. So the tool that we've developed here is more larva. We can use that now to maybe take a faster expansion. My strategy is being influenced by my ability to execute properly. And we're seeing Draker just sort of throw shit down willy-nilly. And that's fine. Again, there's these incidental choices, and one of the big choices I want to make anytime you're doing that positive step forward, like getting an upgrade, you want to ask yourself, could I do this any faster? Could I do this any faster? You're noticing that I have not talked that much about attack timings. You know, about saying something like, well, I look at my opponent right now and he looks totally vulnerable. You can do that. That's going to be the focus of next week's daily. For now, I just want to stick to some of the obvious stuff, like problems that you can solve that you never even need to worry about what he's doing. If Draker's playing the same way the next game, he's going to have enough money to throw down a hatch. And his problem is, where the hell do I build these hatches? He's building hatches all over the place. Look at this guy. He's a freaking maniac. And he's still landing his injects pretty good. And he still has a decent worker count. This is a little bit annoying. And we can still do that similar strategic decision that I was saying last game. In the mid-game, damn, I better scout out my own expansions. In the mid-game, damn, I better keep a better eye on this bottom right. Damn, in the early game, I should probably begin knocking down these destructible rocks. What are other little things that I could choose to work on strategically? Maybe my Overlord spread. Maybe my Creep spread. Maybe I need to work on things like the timing of when I'm getting all this stuff. That said, look at these larva injects. Draker has 5 little queens with no energy. Look at that, 8 energy. Look at that beautiful little queen. Look at this sexy little dead as shit expansion. Yeah. And so it goes. And see, this is kind of the most terrible feeling ever, is when you're like, all right, I need to knock down Destructible. Damn it, he has a cannon. You want to have that down already. You want to force what you want to have happen to happen. So, Draker's still having some problems right here. But the one thing I liked quite a bit about this game in comparison to the others is that Draker is really doing a pretty damn great job of looking like your super strong Zerg. Looking like a Coca, right? Having the The roach hydralisk numbers getting pretty high, having the spire almost up for some corruptors, having a lot of bases, dealing with some aggression. And now, of course, he's going to end up making an attack as I speed this up. This would actually probably lag quite badly here, but, you know, that's fine. My computer processor just simply cannot handle it. So we have an attack going on where our Zerg hero almost breaks in. Almost breaks in. And what I'm going to say is that the Zerg actually eventually loses. He eventually loses. And it's so important that at a point like this, Draker might feel on the verge of winning. He might feel on the freaking verge of winning. He has so much money. He has all these larvae. We're actually going to see about 40 roaches begin getting produced here at a time. It's going to be incredible. But we want to try to identify these other problems we were having earlier and make those our #1 priority to solve. So let me actually zoom forward a little bit in this game while we're talking, so that way you can kind of see the game state. There's some battles that are going on. I'll even turn off the sound so it doesn't distract. But if we go to the end game, it's going to be a whole lot of expansions up for Protoss, and it's important that you don't make huge strategic decisions like, when he takes his 4th base, I should be trying to secure my 5th base. These are the sort of statements that feel okay, or, you know, like, what do I do when he has a ton of Void Rays up? Maybe I should begin getting a lot of Infestors or Ultralisks late game to deal with the Colossi. The problem I have with these is that that is based on the assumption that you will be back in this terrible game state. As I come back to the game and turn the sound back on, we see the Protoss has secured the gold and this right base and is taking this base, and meanwhile Zerg is actually behind on bases and doesn't really have this mining and still has this problem of this one pylon that's been harassing him all frickin' game long. So I would do a more light, gentle judgment of my late game. I would do something more light, like I need to manage his expansions better. I need to put on more pressure to him earlier. I need to defend my own expansions a little bit better. This sort of late game adjustment, I really should have spines and spores at every base, is a good, smart adjustment because it doesn't depend on him being in a hugely advantageous position. Take you from Bleh, or Protoss, is going to win, period. He is in a winning position. Don't overanalyze in winning positions. Just say to yourself, yeah, maybe I should scout to make sure it doesn't get here. Yeah, maybe I should defend this a little bit better. It's the early game where you really want to do a lot more of your focus. And if I wanted to zoom in hard as Draker as to what my problems really will end up being strategically, I want to come back here to this early game period. I want to begin asking myself questions about my larva injects. Because you know what? This is a new tool I have. Since I have all this new larva, maybe I can put a little pressure on him early. Since I have all this new larva, maybe I want to be sending drones here earlier. Since I have all this new larva, maybe I can actually get a lot more structures because I have the additional money. And so on and so forth and so forth. Because we're running a little bit over, I'm going to go ahead and open up Markio's amazing question grabber, and we're going to take some questions from that audience that I have longed to have questions from for so long. And the way we're going to structure everything is, let's see here. Oh yeah. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, I'm going to be on State of the Game in 20 minutes, so definitely tune into that. Go to teamliquid.net and the State of the Game thing's up in the top right. I also want to say the Fun Day Monday for next week is to play, submit to me games of you playing Protoss building no stalkers. That's it. No stalkers at all. Very simple restriction. I think it'll be some really cool games. The Newbie Tuesday for next week is the following. Terrans, for you, Terran buddies, I want you to submit to me games and make sure it's a replay pack of you doing the same timing push a whole bunch of times in a row and describing the adjustments you're making from game to game. In particular, I want the timing push to happen from 10 to 12 minutes. So let me do a Protoss example. If I go 3-gate, expand, build 2 more gates, build up some forces, and attack at 11 minutes. I'm doing that timing push between 10 and 12 minutes. I want you to submit to me games of you doing a timing push in every single game. Fixing the 10 to 12 minute mark and saying, this is when I push. I am just going to push right now. And we want to look at the sort of problems that end up arising. Make sure you include a replay pack. It's Tuesday at day9.tv. Because we've talked a lot about working on our own base management. Now we want to look at something like, how do our timing pushes work? How do we make the timing push as strong as we can? How do we make the follow-up to the push as strong as we can? So let's see about this. Yavn says, Dear Day 9, larva injects seem like a basic thing to focus on and improve. What would be something to hone in on for Protoss and Terran? Obviously, probes and pylons or SCVs and depots. But the big thing that I would also emphasize a lot is make sure that all your buildings are constantly doing stuff. If you have a forge, make sure it's always upgrading. If you have a bunch of gateways, make sure they're always producing. What I see a lot of players who are lower will do is they will have like 5 gateways, a robo, a forge, and they'll be getting a robo bay for Colossus. But if you watch a pro play, because he's constantly building out of those gateways, he'll have just 4 gateways and a forge, and that's it. He will be broke because he's hitting everything right on the money. All his buildings are staying active. I mean, the most glaring one, I think, is players who just get forges early, get one upgrade, and then it just sits there like a sad, pathetic, like empty building, like in an abandoned, like ghost town. Don't want that. Don't want that. Let me see here. Oh, people asking questions about Protoss. We didn't do any Zergs today. Okay, so Seawolf. Whoopsie daisies, I accidentally moved your question. Seawolf87 says, Day 9, I'm a diamond level player, and I'm having trouble fending off early pressure while preparing for the mid and late game. Besides better scouting, is there any way I can be prepared for this? Different build. So, I want to relate this back to the idea of reprioritizing something. Trying to really, really fix whatever it is. What you need to do is, again, prioritize. I'm just going to try to stay alive and hold off this push. All I want to do is get past this push. And do anything you can to do it. Let me give an extreme example. Let's say you're having a lot of problems holding off the 1-1-1 push as Protoss. So you just say, you know what, I'm just going 1 base Colossus. And I'm just fixing that because you know what, I at the very least know it can hold off this push. And then try to work on the rest of everything else. And make it your #1 priority is figuring out whether or not he's doing that build. And I remember this reminds me way back in the Brood War days when there was the most standard Terran push. 4 tanks, 30 to 40 medic marine, and a science vessel. Every single game Terran would do this, and I couldn't hold it off. So I just played kind of extreme to be able to hold it off. And I sort of backed it off, backed it off, backed it off, backed it off, backed it off. Just try to do anything you can to solve that problem at hand and see what the new problems that arise are. Sure, you might have had great mid and late game, ordinarily, and now you've just thrown that away and gone down this new build that solves this other problem, and look where else you are. It's kind of similar to this fixing your larva. Well, we're injecting our queens nonstop, so amazingly we just have all these extra resources. Huh. Well, that gives me a whole new slew of problems. I actually can't quite get my layer and my roach warren up because I just can't afford them, spending all my money so well. So we're going to take one more question. One more question. You know, Blue Ink Alchemist asks this, and I'm definitely going to answer it again, even though I've answered it before because it's so important. Day 9. How does one determine which item on the mental checklist to begin working on? Should we simply pick one at random? You should pick one that you want to work on, and I don't give a shit what it is. Pick one, damn it. Pick one. Pick one. And it is so important you pick one. If you're like, oh, well, my larva management's kind of bad, and my macro's bad, I'm not good at spreading creep, I'm kind of bad at scouting, I guess I'm going to kind of work on all those as I can remember. No! Pick one and focus on it hardcore. Hell, you know what? You can do something like wake up in the morning and roll a dice, and whatever it lands on, You just work on that problem. So number 1 is drone production, and number 2 is scouting the opponent. And you just roll the die and go, oh, it's a 2. I guess I'm only scouting a lot today. Just pick one, and you will improve so rapidly. It's a term that you can actually look up, and you actually should probably all look up in sports psychology, deliberate practice. As long as you're deliberately practicing something, it is always going to be magnitudes better than just practicing kind of in a vague, broad sense. That is the end of the daily. That was fun. I'm going to go. I got to go do state of the game. Tune in, you guys. Tune in. Tune in. See you later. Oh, yeah, and there's going to be hardcore analysis tomorrow and the day after that. Hardcore super analysis. Yeah. Yeah.